Hey friends, what's going on? Ryan Moffat here with Addiction Hope. And this April, I'm going to be focusing on a specific addiction that is a real silent yet deadly addiction sweeping across America, and that's the addiction of pornography. And the first session that we're going to look at on this is called Porn in Your Pastor. Now, as a pastor, I have heard very many times in my life that apparently when conferences happen in hotels and the pastors come into town for a conference, I've heard the rumor is that they actually see an increase in pornography use in hotels. And I was wondering, man, is this really true? You know, like it's one of those things where it's like, man, maybe it's true, but I doubt it. So of course I Googled it, and sure enough, there's incredible stats, staggering, actually incredibly saddening stats about pornography and how it's affecting pastors and their ministry on the pulpit. And one story that caught my attention was in 2015, a group of youth pastors, probably 1,000 youth pastors, gathered in Florida for a conference, and they actually saw an increase in pornography usage. And they were talking to the managers, the guys doing the research on this, and the manager said something so profound. He said, unfortunately, he was a Christian manager. He said, unfortunately, they know that we are Christians by our porn consumption. He says it's actually more truthful than the word love because of the devastating effects of porn on pastors. And so my question is, you know, someone might say, well, Ryan, how do you know this? Well, I know this because I have been a pastor who has struggled with pornography. So in my early 20s, when I was first getting going, you know, I didn't know a thing about a thing. I was just trying to figure things out. And I had one foot in the ministry. I loved Jesus, loved God, loved people, genuinely wanted to serve. But this thing kept plaguing me called pornography. And so what do you do? Maybe you're a business leader. You're a highly influential public person. Maybe you're somebody who's a spiritual leader. Maybe you lead a home group. Maybe you lead a youth group. Maybe you're a highly successful, name it, right? Someone in the public eye, a leader of sorts. And you know, man, I am in deep in sexual sin and in deep with pornography. So what do you do when you're in that spot? Now, there's probably a lot of answers to that question, but I just want to give my perspective in my own story real briefly. See, when I decided I just got to be done with this, I would try hard and I would succeed for a while. I would go, you know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks and be like experiencing victory. But man, I would fall back into it with one bad choice, one bad website, one bad thing on your phone. And it just happened so quick, and I would be back into the crazy cycle. So for me, when I started experiencing freedom from the devastating effects of pornography was when I stopped trying to just get rid of the behavior, and I started asking the questions: what's the disposition, and what's the attitude, what's the value behind the behavior? And what I found for me is that pornography was much less about sex and sexuality. It was much more about relationship and intimacy. That I was looking for intimacy, even false intimacy, because I was not experiencing the intimacy that was available to me with God through Jesus. And so, friends, if you're struggling, the answer is not to fast against something for a couple days or try harder this next week. The answer is to find that there's a depth of community, a depth of relationship, and a depth of intimacy that you're looking for, and is found in Jesus. Guys, have a great night. Thanks so much. See ya.